Howdy y'all and welcome. This is Mike from It's Fine Gaming, and today we're back in Homebrew. I want to make a follow-up video on my last one, which was Helicopters 101 I guess this is going to be Helicopters 102. I'd just like to take a moment and talk about the Homebrew community actually. I submitted an email with a question to the Homebrew development team, and they actually got back to me very quickly and answered it, so I was very appreciative of that, and I wanted to bring that up. And then I also got some good comments on my video, both on YouTube and in the Homebrew forum. So I'd like to spend a little time talking about that and making improvements on our helicopter here. And I just wanted to say, I mean, thus far the Homebrew community is very supportive and very friendly, so I'm very thankful for that. So let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so here we are, and I believe this is pretty much the way I had it from the last video. I had been doing a lot of tweaking and tuning and testing, but I think this is the way it was. So if you remember from the first video, we talked about center of gravity and how important that is. And as we can see right here, we are just a little bit behind, and that's why we added a bunch of ballast in the front here. So let's go ahead and just see what that looks like. Alright, so here we're testing. The center of gravity is slightly behind the rotor shaft, and let's just see what this looks like when I ramp it up to full power. Alright, see that pulling us back? Let's try to battle that. Let's try to overcome that without adding any more silly ballast to the front. Now this tip I got from Laser Ray from the Homebrew forums. We spent a lot of time on the last video adding ballast, trying to move our center of gravity forward, or adding or removing parts, and Laser Ray just made it very simple. As why don't you just move the rotor tilted forward, and that makes a lot of sense. So let's go ahead and do that and see what it looks like. Now it's going to be the offset pitch here. Offset roll would be from side to side, which we're balanced side to side. That's not even an issue. But the pitch is what we're worried about. Alright, let's go ahead and show that this value here for offset pitch angle is indeed in degrees. So we're going to try 90. And we can see that has indeed moved us 90 degrees. So that is way too far. Let's go ahead and back it up to 10. Alright, getting closer, but we can still see now if we draw that line going down, because the rotor is going to be applying that upward force or lift. We went from being back heavy to now front heavy because center of gravity. So let's go ahead and cut this in half. Oop, not 50. Okay. Well, we're getting close, but it's still not good enough. Let's see what 4 looks like. That may be it. Again, I don't have like an isometric view to get it perfectly from the side, but I'm thinking, I can't even move my mouse straight. I'm thinking one more. Let's see what 3 looks like. Yes, I like 3 degrees. Let's go ahead and test this. Okay, let's go ahead and gun it and see if our adjustment made any difference. Oh, it's much nicer. That is much nicer. I'm not drifting forwards or backwards. I think that's the ticket right there. Okay. The next tip I got from Sir Squash, and he left a comment right on YouTube, and it had to do with our yawn here. As you can see, it's drifting in one direction. And if I spin up, it actually starts going in the other direction. And that had to do with the tail fin, or not tail fin, oh my goodness gracious, tail rotor. Let's go back into the garage and take a look at this. Alright, so as I demonstrated, at low RPMs, we'll start to, or the yaw will start to go in one direction, and then as we speed up, it'll go in the other direction. And that has to do with the force being applied not only from our tail rotor, but forces from our main rotor. And I got this tip from Sir Squash. He left a comment on YouTube about it, and he said there's a way of, I guess, removing the forces coming from the rotor by simply placing another rotor on top and having it in the inverse direction. So say one's going in clockwise, one going counterclockwise. They will cancel each other out, so you'll have a nice stable platform, and you will only need a tail rotor to spin you one way or the other. And I did a little research into that, and I've seen these designs before, and they make sense now. But if you do it right and you get the controls set up correctly, you wouldn't even need a tail rotor, so to speak. So I think I may have to try to build that at some point. But anyways, it makes sense, because let's go ahead and just grab our chair. Where's it at? Is that the circle? No, that's the engine. There we go. It'll make a little bit more sense if I have it in motion. Okay, so we're on. All right, so our main rotor here is going counterclockwise, and as you, I hope you know, for every action there's the equal and opposite reaction. So if this is going clockwise, it's pushing against the main body here, or the rest of the helicopter, which is going to cause it to go in a clockwise rotation. So that's why you get that yaw, and that's why you have to have a tail rotor to go ahead and compensate for that. Now, if you have a rotor right on top, such as Sir Squash had mentioned, you're going to have one going counterclockwise and another one on top going clockwise. They're going to counter each other, which will basically leave the rest of the helicopter in a neutral state. I guess I don't really want to go into more detail, because that's probably way more than most of you folks really want to get into. But I guess I went to school for this kind of thing, so it's cool to see it in a game, and I really enjoy it, and it's really just kind of bringing it all back to me. And anyways, I'm an engineer. I need to stop talking. So if you do want to mess with having two rotors, then trying to get them both tilting in the right, I guess, because we had this one 3 degrees, but if you had two, I think you'd want to do it at 1.5 degrees. And if you just don't want to mess with that and just stick with the single rotor and tail rotor, by changing the compensation here, you're never going to have this perfect, I guess. In my last demonstration there, in the world where at a low RPM, it would go one way, and then at a high RPM, it went the other. So there's actually a sweet spot where it will be perfectly straight. So let's go ahead and see if I can find that. All right, now that we've relatively solved our forwards and back pitch issue, and when we take off, we can just take off and vertically as best as we can. Let's start focusing on our yaw. Now I'm going to stay in our cockpit this time, because I want to see the RPMs on the left. As we can see is around 1500. I think I can do a hover. And I'm not inputting any control into the tail, and right now you can see we're spinning clockwise, which is being caused by the rotor, which is going counterclockwise. Now if I ramp it up, you'll start to see we're not drifting any longer to the clockwise. We're actually quite stable, because the amount of force being applied by our tail is countering the rotational, torque by the rotor. Now, if I really ramp up my RPMs, now I'm maxed out at 5,000. You can see in the bottom left of my screen. Now we're going in the opposite direction. And I'm not exactly sure if that's just a weird thing in the game, or if it's because the RPMs on the tail has ramped up so fast it's actually overcoming the force caused by the rotor and pushing past it. But with that, the force from the rotor should also increase as well, because those RPMs. So I don't know, I'm not an aviation technologist or anything, so I don't know how this would act in real life. Maybe it's just a little quirk in the game. But nonetheless, if I drop my RPMs back down to around 1,000, you can see the rotor has taken over and start pushing us, and we're drifting in the opposite direction. So this is just something to keep in mind. Now if you turn on your gyroscope, it will pretty much dampen that out. But when you're tuning your helicopter, as far as I'm concerned, you just will never get your tail just right if you have just one rotor. I guess that's all I wanted to cover. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I've already rambled on long enough. Thanks for watching. This is Mike from It's Fine Gaming. Hope to see you again.